him and now a first-round draft pick. That's just terrific for the young man.
Well, really excited for Peyton. This is, something he's dreamt about for a long time. And, you're happy for any of your players to get the opportunity to pursue their dream. And like I said, he's worked on this a long time. I'm really happy for him.
Open it up for questions. If you have one, again, just type something into the chat there. For whatever reason, the raise hand function is kind of doesn't for me real well. So just put something in the chat and we'll call on you. Looks like we'll go with Ashley Conklin first for the first question. Hey, Ashley, I think you're on mute there. So go ahead and unmute yourself and ask that again.
Yeah, that'd be helpful, huh? Dana, when you were hearing from NBA scouts and they were asking you about Peyton, what were some of the questions they were asking you about him?
Well, most scouts, the first question they talk about is, how he is to work with. They all see our games. They know his athleticism. They know his ability to shoot the ball. Most of the questions revolve around, the type of person he is and how he is to work with and how does he respond to his teammates. Those guys are all smart enough to figure out the physical capabilities of a young man. They want to know about competitiveness and toughness and durability and, again, how easy is he to work with and things like that. So, the scouts, the GMs, the coaches that I was able to talk with, they really respected Peyton as a player, his work ethic, the big shots that he hit. So didn't have to do much selling because they all really liked him, and it was easy from our vantage point to give him a great recommendation. He's in the gym all the time. He worked hard. He's really competitive. Didn't miss any games. Didn't miss many practices. So, a lot of positives there, and really happy for him.
All right, next question. We'll go to Brandon Kammerman.
Hey, Coach, when Peyton was talking last night, he talked about how in his time with you and the Oregon staff, you really pushed him hard. And obviously you're going to push all your players hard. But was there something you identified with Peyton as someone who you knew you could push maybe a little harder because of the way he is in practice and the way his personality is?
Well, you try to gauge that with each individual, and you talk to them about it. I want to get along with the guys. It's not a dictatorship. It's a partnership. I'm working with the guys to try to help them be their best. And so, I talk to players about where do you want to be? And here's what I believe you have to do to get there. And, some guys, want to be pushed and, other guys say they want to, but then when you push them a little bit, they don't like it too much. So, it's not an exact science, and no relationship is. And you just do your best to work with the guys. We have such a long season too, that it's really important, that you get along with the players. We got a 6-month season. If they every day come to practice going, I don't want to be around that guy, and our sport's different because the contact is with me every day. They have contact with the assistants every day also, but they have contact with me every day. And so it's different than a football team that has 100 guys, and the relationships are different with the basketball team. And so to answer your question, Peyton was easy to work with. He was easy to push because he liked it. He listened when I barked at him. He listened when I talked to him. He wanted to be a better player, and there was a trust factor there being together so long. And he saw me work with Dylan and Tyler and Jordan that first year. which, and he saw it work out for them. That always helps, when you have other players showing, the toughness and, wanting to be coached and wanting to be pushed, then you see how it works. And so I think he had the advantage there of being with a really good group his freshman year. And then, man, we really relied on him sophomore through his senior year to, kind of be a guy that we could depend on.
All right, thanks, Coach. We'll go to Julian with KEZI next.
Dana, was there a specific moment that stuck out to you or time in Peyton's career at Oregon that you told yourself, okay, like this guy's going to be an NBA player?
Not really. I saw the development. You couldn't say, okay, his freshman year he's going to be an NBA player. He was a nice player, but you just don't know how guys are going to progress. And then a year ago, he had options to, Phoenix wanted him to sign a two-way contract. I know Utah had talked to him about a two-way contract. So he had options at the end of his junior year, to go. So by then, we knew that he was an NBA type player. But this year, man, he elevated his game so much. Part of it were the guys around him, but his confidence level and everything kind of went to a different level this year. So, as the season progressed, there was no doubt in my mind, because he could shoot it and spread the floor, and his range had improved. He wasn't going to turn it over for an NBA team, and he tries to guard his position. And that's what's going to get his foot in the door as a backup point guard and move him through the league, is the fact that he can do all three. He can space the floor. He's with Boston, who's got Tatum and a lot of talented guys he can get the ball to, and he won't turn it over. And then he'll try to guard his position. It's one of the toughest positions in all of sports to guard, is that point guard, because you can't hand check. They've made that free-flowing game so much in the NBA, you can't use your hands. And so he's going to have his work cut out for him guarding some of those guys. But he'll try to guard. He's a competitive young man. And, it was easy to see he could do that. So, I don't know what point in time I knew that, but I knew after his junior year that there were a lot of teams trying to get him to sign two-way contracts. And I'm sure glad that, his family was able to let him stay in school. And that's, a big plus. Financially, his family's okay. So he was able to stay in school and try to get in the first round. Some young men, might not have that luxury. So Peyton's really fortunate. He's got a great family that, was behind him all the way. And financially, he could afford to stay that last year.
Okay, AJ Jacobson, let's go to you.
Coach, I was wondering, who do you have on this current roster that you've been seeing that can replace some of the talent and what Peyton brought to the table? Who do you have now that you're going to rely on to bring some of that?
Well, I think it'll be a group of guys. Will Richardson, first of all, Will's back for his junior year and made a tremendous leap from his freshman to sophomore year. So I think Will's going to give us some of that. Amari Hardy, who we brought in from UNLV. I like his early practices. Jalen Terry, a freshman from Michigan, is going to be a good player for us. He's nursing a sprained ankle right now and is out for a while. But, I think those guys, and then Chris Duarte, I think will hit some big shots for us. His second year with us, I think, will be a big jump. I like Eric Williams, hitting some big shots. So, I think there are a number of players at the guard position that can help us. And I hope to be a little bit more balanced this year than we were a year ago, depending on Peyton hit so many big shots. And I think Eugene and Dante back, Chandler back, Luke War back. We've got some options down low too.
Thanks, Coach. We'll go to James for the next question.
Dana, you've touched on this a bit already, but I'll go a specific instance. I'll jog your memory here, and it's unfortunately not a particularly good one. But on the LA trip a year and a half ago, it starts off with a ugly offensive performance at SC, and then obviously UCLA was the second half debacle in terms of how much they scored. But amidst that, he's coming off a 5-point game, and the postseason's looking ugly. And obviously you guys catch red hot fire, and ever since then, he totally changes his career trajectory. At that point, in the midst of that LA trip, are you thinking you have an NBA player? Because what he did shooting percentage-wise this past season, everything is just – when he picked up his three-point shooting, like 15 points or something, it's outlandish kind of what he was able to accomplish in a year's time.
Well, it shows, the course of a season and what players, just continually being able to grind a season out, what can happen. And, we've talked about it before, James, but I think it shows the trust factor that the team, stayed with the coaches, and the coaches stayed with the team, and we were able to turn that around and get things going. And Peyton was a huge part of that. He played really well down the stretch, and we went with the big lineup, and he had the ball in his hands a little bit more and created a lot of things. It was a testament to him and the rest of the team, on the ability, their competitiveness and their ability to get things turned around. And because of that, it'll always, be a good memory. You brought up the bad memories, we weren't playing with the darn. UCLA, USC games were awful, and we had some awful games before that. But I sure was proud of the team for sticking with it, showing the competitiveness and grinding out a season and turning it around. And you're right, Peyton took off from that. The confidence probably hit an all-time high, in the conference tournament and then the NCAA tournament, and with so much emphasis on that, that's where I think the NBA teams, started talking about a two-way contract for him, because he played so well in the conference tournament and the NCAA tournament. I think that's where teams really started talking about the two ways and saying, we get this guy in our organization now and work with him a couple years and see what happens. And fortunately for us, Peyton made the decision to come back and give us another year and try to get into that first round.
Okay, James, you had a follow-up on that?
No, on a separate topic, more to the season. So if anybody's sticking with that, I'll come back around.
Go ahead, James. That's all right. We'll stick with you.
Hate to make it about scheduling again, Dana, but there's still two out there. And according to Kelly a couple of days ago, you guys have got your second game of the season a week from Saturday and don't know who you're playing. At what point does there have to be decisions? And you've got an opener on Wednesday, but if you don't know who you're playing in 9 days, surely this is getting a bit preposterous.
Well, I don't think it's much different for a lot of people. I know some people have their schedule out. I think I've seen two in the conference. We're going through a period here in the state, and everybody's going through a period. I don't know, James. I know it's not usual. I don't know if preposterous or ridiculous or whatever word you want to use there. It is what it is. They changed a football game in a day, and we may be changing games from day to day. So, I'd like to know our schedule too. Would be a lot easier on, us, and a lot easier on Josh Jameson, who's trying to put it together. But, we may not play a game a week from Saturday. We wanted to, but there's a good chance we won't. And we'll just keep doing what we have to do to try to put a schedule together. And I know it's going to change from week to week. And so we're just going to have to keep working at it and see what happens. It would have been easier for us in retrospect just to have 22 conference games and try to add a couple like the the ladies decided to do. But we didn't make that decision. And, you know, I think UCLA put their schedule out and Colorado put their schedule out. Those are the only two I've seen. And so, you know, hopefully we'll be able to get some things figured out, and we'll release them game by game as we get them. We're not holding that back anything, James. We're not trying to hide anything.
No, I know you're not. I know you're not.
We just
That's
don't have any games.
Yeah.
Washington State also has their schedule out. They've got 7 non-conference home games, which I'm kind of curious about that. Anyways, next question will go to Jerry Thompson.
Yeah, Coach. So how's the progress? But specifically, you lost Addison, who I thought was maybe one of the turning points on the press last year. Are you going to be able to press like you did last year, have enough depth?
Well, we have enough depth. I'm not sure, you know, how this team is going to be put together. We've worked a little on the press. Again, we're not anywhere, you know, where we usually are at this point in time. You know, November 18th, 19th, 20th, you've usually played a few games and you know, things are moving along, but we've only scrimmaged 3 times, you know, so we're way behind where we should be, where we wanted to be. I'm hoping that most of the teams we're playing are in the same boat, that, you know, they didn't get started, you know, with our quarter system. You know, we didn't get our guys here till October, you know, and so we've taken it slowly, you know, just because I don't want to get guys hurt. We've had a couple ankles, but for the most part, our guys have stayed healthy. We've got a scrimmage today. We've got one Saturday, trying to simulate the Thursday, Saturday that we play in the league, and try to have 2 full game schedule or scrimmages then. And hopefully that'll give us a little indication of where we're at. But to answer your question on the press, you know, I'm not sure what direction that'll take. And Addison did do a good job for us late in the season on the front of that press. But, you know, we've got a lot of guys that I think can fill that role. And I do believe in our depth. I think we got guys that can play.
Okay, for the next question, we'll go to Matt Preem.
In the last few years, you've talked about guys having ownership of the team and being those vocal leaders. Do you sense there's a guy or two on this team that have gotten there yet, where they're kind of the vocal on and off court leaders?
You know, I haven't sensed that yet, but, you know, I think we've got a group of seniors who really want to have a good year. Chris Duarte, Eugene, Amari, you know, LJ, you know, Will Richardson's back. Eric's been sitting here waiting for years. So we got plenty of guys that, you know, that want to have a good year, have a sense of urgency. So, you know, I'm hoping that that group of guys can get together and give this team great leadership. But I think those 6 older guys really will have that role. And if 2 or 3 distinguish themselves and move out, that would be great. If all 6 do it as a group, that would be fine. We've had competitive practices. The guys have done a good job. I've enjoyed working with them. We're moving way too slow. We gotta get ready, you know, for a game in less than a week. And, you know, we're not moving fast enough to get ready for that.
All right, we'll go back to Ashley Conklin for the next question.
Dana, just going back to Peyton for a minute, how would you compare his leadership skills and his ability to make his teammates better around him to some of the other players you've coached, not only at Oregon, but at Creighton and Kansas State as well?
Peyton's leadership really came on, you know, late in his career. In his freshman year, obviously, we had a much older team. He didn't have to. His sophomore year, we had a lot of new guys because Brooks went early, Bell went early, Dorsey went early. You know, we had a lot of turnover there. So his sophomore year, you know, we were just trying to piece things together, and that was a tough year for everybody. And then I thought his junior year he tried to handle some of it, and then this past year, no doubt, he did a much better job. So it was a gradual process, a process that developed, much like some of the really good leaders that we've had, at other schools and other teams. Everybody says, well, is he a natural leader? I'm not sure exactly what that means, because I think every group dynamic is different. You can be a leader with one group, with one team, but again, as a freshman, we didn't ask him to do that. So, Kyle Korver, we had some great, Anthony Tollett, we had some great guys, Ryan Sears, Ben Walker, Creighton. Those are names that don't mean anything to you, but were really good leaders for us. And, he's in that group, those guys that stayed with us for a long time, grew with the program, grew with the team. And that's what I see from Peyton. Like I said, his freshman year, sophomore year, we're really, learning our program, learning the way, that we wanted to do things. And then again, when we needed him that junior year to take over, he did. And then this year, I thought he provided great leadership, this past season. So, like I said, every group dynamic is different. What we ask players to do each year is different. We're asking Will and some of those guys to lead this year. We weren't asking that of them a year ago. And so, again, that role increases. The leadership increases as you move through the system, as you move through with each individual team. And this year, like I said, I think the leadership can come from any of those older guys, the 4 seniors or the 2 juniors, Will and Eric.
All right, next question, AJ Jacobson.
Coach, obviously we've been talking about not really knowing what the schedule is going to be, but, as you do find out what teams you're going to be playing, with the COVID restrictions and whatnot on practices, I'm not familiar with the nuances of what that means to your practicing. Do you have the tools in place to, quickly implement your game plans on the court the way you're going to need to as you find out your opponents?
Yeah, basketball, we're used to doing that. We play in a tournament, you win, you play a certain team, you lose, you play a certain team, in the preseason or the pre-conference part of your season. You're playing a tournament and you got 2 possibilities that you could be playing. So one team's getting ready for one, the other team's getting ready for, another coach is getting ready for the other team. You really focus in on what you do, and then you try to make adjustments to what they might do. And we're used to having 24 hours to get ready for that, or even less. So, I don't think it changes our approach any. I just think we're going to probably have to do it a heck of a lot more often this year than we've had in previous years. But it's not going to change our approach. We focus in on what we do, and then we just got to make adjustments on the fly, just like we do in a game. A team throws something different at us, and you're trying to get ready for it, at halftime, so I don't anticipate that much of a change for us. We've, like I said, been in tournament situations throughout our careers as coaches, and players are used to playing. They played in AAU tournaments, they've played in high school tournaments, so they're used to adjusting on the fly also. And you have concepts defensively that you want to adhere to. You have concepts offensively that you want to adhere to. And if they change something up, I think basketball players are used to changing pretty quickly on the fly.
All right, we'll go to Jerry Thompson. Unmute yourself there, Jerry.
Okay, Coach, Jalen Terry, what you've seen in him, and Dante wasn't around too long, hurt last year. How's he been progressing?
Been really pleased with Jalen. twisted an ankle and been out for a while here. And so I don't know when he'll be back, but I love his quickness, Jerry. I mean, he can really change, the pace of a game. We haven't had a guard since Johnny Lloyd that could do that. So I always kind of like having a guard. 100 years ago when I was playing, I hated those guys that could just blow by me, and he's one of those guys, he can go. And so, I think he gives us a different dimension, something that can change the pace of a game with his defense or his offense. So I like that. Same way Johnny Lloyd. I think that's a very comparable player. He's not as thick as Johnny, but he plays the same way. He can get up and pressure the ball, and then he can push the ball offensively. Dante has really practiced well the last 10 days, 2 weeks. So he's bouncing around a lot better, seems to be doing a lot better with his knees. So, again, he's 19 and still growing, and so he goes through some of those things that, 6'10", 6'11", and 245 pounds, and you're still growing. It probably feels like I do some mornings, get up out of bed and can't move very good. So, but no, he's, again, the last couple of weeks, man, I've really been pleased with what he's trying to accomplish, and, fighting through some of the uncomfortableness with his knees, and really doing a great job. He's been tough to handle. Offensively, he scored a bunch of buckets, and defensively, he's trying to, guard better than he did a year ago. So hopefully he keeps doing what he's doing, because he's made a big difference last couple of weeks.
Okay, and then unless anybody has anything else, the last question today will go to James.
Dana, just wanted to get an update on LJ and Aaron and where they are in their process there, and also just your initial thoughts of Eastern, in case we don't talk to you before the game, your impressions of Eastern and opening up the season with them.
Well, no update on anything from the NCAA. Secondly, with Eastern, they've got a lot of guys back, James, which always scares you, and they used to winning. I think they were 23-8 last year, and watched some clips that our film guy Scully's got to me, and they shoot a lot of threes, which also, those things start going in, can change a game really quickly. So we'll have our hands full. I'm trying to tell our guys that they got a couple players who are used to scoring and used to winning, and I know they'll be ready to go. Like I said, they've got a lot more guys back than we do. I think they got 4 starters back, and so we'll have our hands full. And next Wednesday we're going to have to guard, and some of our practice performances defensively have been not very good. So we got a long way to go to get ready. We need to have a good scrimmage tonight and good scrimmage on Saturday, and then Monday, Tuesday, get ready to play on Wednesday, because we need to worry about ourselves the rest of the week and try to get ourselves up to speed. And then Monday, Tuesday, we'll take a look at Eastern.
All right, everyone. Thanks. Appreciate it, Coach. Thanks.
All righty. Take care. Have a great Thanksgiving if I don't talk to you.
Thanks, Dan.